Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, you know, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Welcome back. It's Toker Talk Radio. The phone number is right there. Cutting my head off. Right there. Covering my male pattern baldness. Right there. 971-533-7111. We're also hanging out with Stony and Snap, who are in the chat room as Match 1 or Matt THC1. However you say that. Match 1. All right. So I'm cool. I know. I got it. All right. So I want to get the accurate quotes for you. On that last story I was saying. This was the Colorado Normal, the head. Rachel Gillette is her name. She said, quote, "Yes, we want to end prohibition, but not at any cost. We have to think, going forward, how is setting a precedent of an excessive tax going to affect other states that are going to follow Colorado?" End quote. Okay. So again, I think the more dangerous precedent is that you promise taxation and then you don't deliver. I think that's the more dangerous precedent we set here for the next state that's trying to pass marijuana legalization, and they can poke holes in our tax and regulate argument because no taxes showed up, or when we tried to pass the taxes, the people, the pot smokers, the lobby that is for legalization will fight them. Okay, so how is that a precedent that we want to follow out with? But here's now, to her credit, Rachel Gillette says the numbers aren't realistic. They don't take into account increased demand from tourism and limited supply from pot shops. She says in at least the first 2 years, this will drive the price of a wholesale ounce above $90 and a retail ounce above $200, above the estimates, the original estimates there in the Blue Book. Ooh, a $200 ounce. Okay, yeah, that's boy, that's scary. Oh, that's awful. And then she also added, quote, "I mean, I would use this analogy. You know, you see this beautiful Ferrari, right? You want to buy this Ferrari. It's fabulous. But it's got a Pinto welded onto it. Do you still want to buy the Ferrari? Probably not. The Pinto is the 10% special sales tax." Okay, that's not the best of analogies. Because according to Colorado Normal, they said it's overtaxation. Earlier in the interview and in other places I've read, they say they're not opposed to taxation per se, but that this would be over taxation. So I guess in this analogy, they're upset with the Pinto being welded onto the Ferrari, but a moped would be okay. I don't know. It seems to me that it's that Tea Party libertarian knee jerk, oh my God, it's a tax, therefore it's bad, we must oppose it. Or maybe it's people that don't want to see a tax that's too high because then they have to lower their markup to be able to deal with a market where people can still grow their own. That was what John Thomas in our chat room brought up. He said, I will grow my own before I pay more than $100 an ounce. Yeah. Exactly. And in Colorado, they have the right to grow their own, constitutional right to grow 3 mature plants and 3 immature plants. So how much of the tax opposition is that? Is this idea that if the taxes are too high, the recreational sellers have to lower their profits to be able to compete with a price break that people will accept when they can go through the hassle of growing their own. Maybe that has something to do with it. And some of these estimates in this Colorado calculator that I was looking at, I don't know if I would agree with all those estimates either, because they're saying $600 to produce a pound of marijuana. And I have a feeling these large producers, these warehouses that I've toured, are going to be able to produce it for, what, 2/3 that cost? Maybe $400 a pound? The original estimate from Rand Corporation in 2010 was estimates from $25 a pound to $400 a pound, based on, how the scale that it could be grown at, right? At $400 a pound to produce marijuana, even with this 15% tax, even with the 10% sales tax, the retail price is $121 an ounce. Even if the retailers jack their prices up triple, if they doubled their markup, 200% markup, $132 ounce of marijuana. Even if the retailers jack their prices up 300%, the retail price doesn't even get to $176. Now, if we start lowering that original production cost for a pound, let's take it down to $200 to produce a pound of marijuana. Maybe they get these outdoor grows going. And we keep it at that 175% retailer markup, $65 for an ounce of marijuana, even with a 15% excise tax and a 10% sales tax. Folks, I don't know what's going to happen, but I can make some general predictions. And I'm saying that a $600 price to produce a pound of marijuana is going to drop. That can only go down as marijuana gets more legal. That retailer markup, in order to compete in a market where people can grow their own product, has to drop. If a retailer just doubles the markup, 100% markup, and that price to produce a pound gets down to $400 a pound, we're talking $88 after taxes, after exorbitantly high, oh my God, taxes that we must oppose, comes up to $88. Even if people increase their use, it still stays at less than $90 an ounce, folks. Pass the damn tax.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business. You know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business. You know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business. It's simply business. You know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
I'm Radical Russ Belville, and I want to thank you for listening to 420 Radio. We couldn't survive without you and our sponsors, and I'd like you to check out one of our prime sponsors, the National Cannabis Coalition. I've been working with NCC since June of 2012, and I'm proud to be part of the team they have assembled. National Cannabis Coalition is building the partnerships with reformers, lawmakers, and industry we need to be successful. Visit the National Cannabis Coalition website at nationalcannabiscoalition.com or the easier-to-remember ncc420.com. That's where you'll get the exclusive first look at my radical rants, as well as informative articles from the nation's top cannabis pundits. Visit ncc420.com today, and if you have your phone handy, text Russ to 420-420 to support NCC and 420 Radio. It's a free text message that helps us help you end adult marijuana prohibition. Learn more at ncc420.com, and thanks for supporting independent marijuana legalization public radio. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the only way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect, and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, I respectfully invoke all my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak to my attorney, Omar Figueroa. Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at www.omarfigueroa.com.
All right. Well, you know. I said giant steps upward we take, walking on the moon. Oh, I hope my legs don't break, walking on the moon. I said we could walk forever, walking on the moon. I said we could be together, walking on the moon.
Yeah, that's Cass Haley, his acoustic cover of Walking on the Moon, the Police favorite. Welcome back to Toker Talk Radio. All right, got all ranty there for a while, so I thought we'd lighten things up just a little bit here. I was told there was a fantastic episode of the Colbert Report last night, and a segment in particular that we'd all want to watch. Let's watch it together.
Nation, right now I want to talk to you about the dangerous side effects of a popular drug. But first, let me ask you a question. Who here smokes weed? Sadly, one of the side effects of marijuana use is mindless hollering when you hear the word weed. You see, this shameful turn of events is already hitting my studio. America is surrendering in the war on drugs. 21 states have legalized marijuana for medical purposes, and just last year, it was made legal for recreational purposes in Colorado and Washington State, or should I say, Chicharado and Washington. And
Washington.
In all 2 of those states, the cops have stopped cracking down on sparking up.
Seattle pot smokers are getting an education this week. In an effort to get the word out about the state's new marijuana laws, Seattle police went to the annual festival known as HempFest, and they passed out bags of Doritos with the do's and don'ts of getting high in the state. So among the tips, kind of obvious here, don't drive high, don't smoke pot in public, but it says do listen to Dark Side of the Moon at a reasonable volume.
What?
Yeah.
Police should not be encouraging drug use, and you cannot listen to Dark Side of the Moon in a reasonable volume. You'll miss all the depth when the song Money switches from 7/4 to 4/4, and Gilmore lays down a 6 solo based upon the pentatonic scale, is what I'm told by one of my editors. Now, worst of all, folks, despite pot possession being a federal crime, Attorney General Eric Holder says he is willing to let these pro-pot laws go into effect. But what do you expect from the mayor of Cloud City? The Justice Department only has one don't do for your doobie-doo.
The DOJ ruling on Thursday that the states can let people smoke, grow, and buy pot legally, as long as the drug is kept away from kids and used safely.
Safely? How can you keep today's medical-grade dispensary dank away from kids with fun names like Alien Dog and Bubba Koosh? They already sound like stoner heroes for a Cartoon Network show. Just imagine the adventures they'd have on their couch watching Cartoon Network. Folks, it's not enough that pot is no longer bad for us. The dope pushers are now trying to tell us it's the solution for all our fiscal problems, like the Michigan state lawmaker who's proposing to legalize and tax marijuana to boost funding for road repair in a plan supporters call Pot for Potholes. Yeah, maybe that would work, but once they fix every pothole, what do you think they'll legalize to fix every crack? We'll be right back.
There you go. Colbert Report. Thank you, Stephen Colbert. Love it.
And we're still here. Oh, there we go. The Hubble Deep Field. I might just leave that up. That's kind of cute. So here we are at Rolla J Studios, Toker Talk Radio. The phone line here is 971-533-7111. And just hanging out and talking about that Colorado Proposition AA tax measure. And reading some of the chat room on responding to this. I'm seeing 10% is a good number and so on. That was the other thing that kind of bothers me is the complaint about the tax being too much, but I didn't hear what the tax should be. Was it just the 10% extra sales tax they had the problem with and not the 15% excise tax? I think that was what the deal was on that situation. And there was another point I wanted to get to on this. Let's see if I can find this. Oh no, it was from that the free joint giveaway, and the point was that this was zero value. Well, under the Colorado law, you can give away marijuana. It's perfectly legal, right? And Corey's right in that it's illegal to sell it. And there's no legal place to buy it right now as a recreational consumer. But they gave away 600 joints. And possession of any one of those joints is legal because it's under an ounce. But someone at some point had to possess all 600 of them. Now, the feds like to say that a joint is 0.4 grams. I think that's a little small, especially considering we're talking about Denver, but let's go with 0.4 grams. That's 240 grams. And if we divide that by the 28 grams in an ounce, we're talking about 8.5 ounces of marijuana. So the ethics complaint about this situation has to do with, well, where did that at least 8.5 ounces of marijuana come from? And you can't tell me that 8.5 ounces of marijuana doesn't have value. It just sounds ludicrous on its face when we know, especially when Robert Corey has gone to court and gotten the medicine back for patients that was taken by the cops and used their estimates of $2,500 a pound, the inflated estimates they always use for their seizures, use those estimates to get money reimbursed to patients. So clearly it has value. It can't not have value. It just seems to be a ludicrous argument, just trying to get away with not disclosing. Now, I understand the not wanting to disclose because if someone gave more than an ounce, they've violated the law. You can give away up to an ounce in Colorado. And it's just frustrating again because we are talking about a situation where people have the right still to grow their own. If this were Washington State, and actually Washington State is having this discussion, but Washington State's got 25, doesn't have much choice. It's built into the law. They don't have that Colorado Tabor thing where you vote on the taxes separately. So they're kind of stuck with it. And it's 25% wholesale, 25% processor, 25% retail. Plus, sales tax in Washington State's higher. It averages like 8 or 9%, depending on where you're at. State is like 6.7, and then each county or municipality can add another percent here or there. So they're talking about marijuana that's, much more taxed. And the original estimate come out with something like $17 a gram. Now that's assuming a 100% markup and so forth. So tax arguments about it being overtaxed, we can definitely point to Washington State in that respect. And that also, to me, undercuts Rachel Gillette's argument a little bit about the whole setting a precedent, because this was the same thing, Washington State, the No on I-502 said, it set a precedent. And I kind of thought, well, wait a minute, the only way it can set a precedent if it's the only one. If there's two different laboratories going, if there's two different models, they can't, and they're different, very different, they're going to set precedents in different ways, right? So if your worry is that the Colorado 15 plus 10% is too high of a tax, and that'll be the precedent for future states, then what about you got to worry about the Washington State setting a much worse precedent that they already have. You'll be able to point to Washington State and say, look how it's overtaxed and how people are in the black market, especially because you have no home grow rights in Washington State. Washington State provides all the negative precedent anyone needs if you compare it to Colorado.
Ah, yes. And it's 4:20 out here in the Pacific time zone.
Back that shit, like that shit, wear that shit.
That's
right.
Tonight, Stoney and Snap say get high, so
Yeah.
I guess we better.
Come on, Russ.
Ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Hey, Tokers and Tokettes, Radical Russ here to introduce you to my friend Matt and all the staff at Lush LED Lighting. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED Lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. If you thought LEDs were meet the tech of today, Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Let's just say I appear at a lot of events with the masters of indoor horticulture, and the harvests I saw from Lush LED Lighting were big, tight, sticky, and very effective. Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Double your rewards and lower your expenses with Lush LED Lighting.
I'm a reefer smoking man.
Wood Pipe Smoke Shop and Speakeasy is your source for cannabis community gear in southern Wisconsin. Owners Brian and Tammy Wood are located in Kendall, just outside of Madison, and they've got everything for the smoking enthusiast, including a full assortment of pipes, water pipes, hookahs, bubblers, one-hitters, and so much more. They're open noon to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and can help you with your detoxification therapies as well. Call 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com for more information. That's 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com. And as always, go pack go. 420radio.org presents Marijuana Compassion and Common Sense with registered nurse Lanny Swerdlow every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, with replays Wednesday at 7 a.m., Thursday at midnight, and Sundays at 8 p.m. Pacific, right here on 420radio.org.
Welcome back, everybody. Toker Talk Radio, 23 after the hour here in the Pacific time zone. And I've said that before and thought, well, wait a minute, isn't 23 after the hour in every time zone? But it's not. There are 10 time zones across the world where they are a half hour off. And there are 3 time zones across the world where they are 45 minutes off. So it is not 23 after in every time zone. There you go. That's your time zone trivia for the day. What do you think?
I like that.
You like that? That's good.
So is it like 420 somewhere for like 15 minutes?
This answers the question, how many 420s are there in one day on planet Earth? I will tell you. There are 80. There are 80 420s in one day on planet Earth because there's 27 time zones. You'd think there's 24, right? You think, wouldn't there be 24 time zones for 24 hours? No, there's 27 time zones. They go from plus 14 to minus 12 on the universal time coordinate, right? 27 hourly time zones, 10 half-hourly time zones, and 3 45-minute time zones for a total of 40 time zones. And each one has a 420 a.m. and a p.m. So there are 80 420s in the world.
We can do it.
We can do it?
We can do it. They're only 80.
Stoney looks at that as a challenge.
Yes. Let's go.
You're on.
Mom some marijuana as our protest to get everyone to know.
All right.
8 times a day.
Well, we've got to go to our special equipment because the flux capacitor is kicking up. Apparently, we've got some news coming in.
Stupid prohibition stories. As a public service, the Russ Belville Show reminds you that smoking marijuana does not make one stupid. However, some stupid people do smoke marijuana. and prohibition is always waiting for another victim. Learn your lesson from today's stupid prohibition stories.
With your stupid prohibition stories, I'm old-timey 1920s radio reporter Freddie Farrakh. From OpposingViews.com, driver flees with Ohio police officer in his vehicle searching for marijuana. A crash involving a state trooper in Cincinnati this week was a close call, according to authorities. The incident took place after Trooper Brad Hess pulled a car over for a routine traffic stop and smelled marijuana in the vehicle. According to the report, the passenger in the car got out to allow Trooper Hess to go in and search the car. As soon as the officer got into the vehicle, the driver got in, hit the gas, and took off. The driver didn't get very far when the car veered off the side of the road, hit 2 trees, and overturned. Trooper Hess was trapped under the car and injured, and the driver immediately got away on foot. Authorities took to the streets with canine units to find the suspect, but as of today, he still remains at large. Luckily, they were able to identify him as 22-year-old Dimitri Harville. I'm Freddie Farrakh with your stupid prohibition stories. Jesus, Freddie, I think you better get that checked out, man. That sounded very healthy at the end.
2 more joints.
Yeah, I think Freddie needs some. He needs some help.
Yes.
I don't know if Obamacare covers Freddie Farrakh because he's from the 1920s, yeah. So he's still under Hoover or something. Yeah. So, Freddie, you're screwed, man. You better get that looked at. Welcome back. It's Toker Talk Radio, and so that we may learn from our stupid prohibition story, don't drive away with the cop in your car. I think, can we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Can we all agree that maybe that's not a great idea? No. Maybe that's not your best plan. But I should always point out, and I always try to point out, that the whole reason this story happens is because of the prohibition.
Fuck prohibition!
He smells the marijuana in the car. It's contraband. The cop must now get up, must start, messing with this guy, determining whether or not there's contraband in the car. If the car had smelled like sweaty gym sock, wouldn't be a big deal. Sweaty gym socks are perfectly legal. Wearing gym socks and sweating in them is perfectly legal. It's okay to even manufacture gym socks. Perfectly legal. But the smell of marijuana, that triggers a whole series of events that have to take place. And if prohibition didn't exist, wouldn't have to worry about a lot of this. Now, according to the report, the passenger got out. The passenger got out, and the driver stayed in the car. So it was a little confusing there. But the passenger got out. The trooper got in the passenger side. The driver, still in the car, hit the gas. But that seems to me that someone gave assented to the search, allowed the search to happen. The passenger got out of the car. Now, I can't tell from just this news story if the passenger was ordered out of the car. But again, if you're pulled over, it is best to be polite and respectful and obey the lawful orders of a police officer. If they order you to show your hands, show your hands. Your hands should be on the steering wheel in the first place. They're worried about getting shot. They're worried about, something real bad happening. So make sure your hands are visible up on the steering wheel, that you're calm, everything's cool. You've turned the car off, taken the keys out of the ignition, and put them in your pocket. This is important for later. Mm-hmm. Then you got your hands on the keys. If you got an electric window, obviously you've rolled the window down a little bit, but you don't have to roll it down the whole way. Roll it down 4 or 5 inches, just enough so that you can talk to the guy, hand him your license, registration, and everything. Now, the officer may say to remove your sunglasses. And they say, I need you to remove your sunglasses. And you should do that. They have a legitimate right there to try to determine whether people are impaired on the road. And one important indicator of that are your eyeballs. They may tell you to roll the window down further. I don't know if I'd do that necessarily. I don't know what I'd say in response to that. Maybe, but don't lie. Don't say, well, it's broken. Don't lie, because any lie you tell to a cop will be used against you. They can lie to you. Keep that in mind. They can lie like crazy to you. Oh, just tell me what's going on and, it'll all go easy for her. Yeah, it'll go easy for you. But when you're dealing with that officer, if they tell you to get out of the car, go ahead and get out of the car. Just lock it. Remember me telling you to keep the keys in your pocket? Keep the keys in your pocket. Lock the car, get out of the car, shut the door. They may bug you about why you shut the door. Why'd you shut the door? Why'd you lock the door? Give me your keys. I need you to open the door. I need you to unlock the door. Don't do it. Don't say, I refuse to consent to a search. Well, give me your keys. I refuse to consent to a search. You don't have to hand them your keys. If they have to go in your pocket to get your keys, that's a search. If they go ahead and do that, and they didn't have the right to do that, your lawyer can later use that to get a lot of this stuff thrown out. And this is something people need to understand, is that when you're pulled over, when you're busted, if it's gotten to the point where the cop is already in that protocol of shaking you down, trying to find your weed, you're no worse off asserting your rights. You're at the point where, if they really want you, they're going to bring a dog, they're going to make an excuse, whatever. You're already busted. So, assume that as you are going to be busted, how much evidence are you going to give them at the subsequent trial? Keep your mouth shut. Don't consent to searches. All that stuff. Got to learn it. And I would encourage you to check out organizations like flexyourrights.org that have all sorts of guidelines on how to do this. I used to table a lot with the Flex Your Rights first DVD, which had 3 scenarios on how to deal with police. Now, they did receive one major criticism on them, and that was these scenarios were very, shall we say, white. They basically dealt with, how folks like me should deal with police. And so they made another series of videos for people, African American, Latino, living in neighborhoods where cops stop and frisk and do all that kind of shit, on how to really deal with police, that add the little things that you need to know to, not get your ass shot. That happens in places like Oakland and New York and Philadelphia and all sorts of places. So check those out at flexyourrights.org. I heartily recommend them. They're great little ways. They're great little things to show because they just have these little scenarios, little 15-minute things that you can watch. You can even show them to people at a party, and you can at least keep their attention for one of them, for at least one of the segments. And even that much education can be very helpful. Because a lot of times what happens, the number one way you're going to interface with a cop as a stoner is driving. That's why I'm always telling people, and Lord knows I've been as guilty of violating this as anyone else, but smoking in the car is not a good idea. Having the stuff in the passenger compartment, not a good idea. Keep it in the back. But I know plenty of people that don't, and I know plenty of people that have been getting away with it. I just hope I don't have to report on them getting caught. I hope it's not me. And the other thing, that if it's not the car where you get busted, another place where you get busted is the house party. And one of the things that can happen in the house party is that someone at the party gives away your rights. And you would think that's like, okay, so I own a house, right? And I'm in this house and a bunch of my friends here are partying and the cops show up. And the next thing I know, I'm in my kitchen talking to a cop. And I think, how did this cop get in my kitchen? And you realize that someone at your party answered the door and said, sure, come on in. And guess what? That's perfectly legal. You're not, you're going to think you're going to go to court and say, well, Your Honor, I didn't let them in and I'm the owner of the house. Ain't going to fly. Ain't going to help you. Okay. So at the house party, designate someone to be the doorman, to be at the door. For one, you could have them taking the keys to their car when they show up. You got to make sure people ain't leaving your house all, messed up, too messed up to drive, right? You should be doing that. But number 2, this be someone that understands about constitutional rights and doesn't let cops in without a warrant and goes outside and shuts the door behind to make sure they can't see in or see what they might perceive to be illegal activity going on. Maybe even has a little spray thing of Febreze sitting there at the door, right? Febreze the entryway so they can't claim they smelled stuff. Got to do that. See? These are all the kind of things that, you know, these are somewhat becoming lost arts out here on the West Coast, where people feel so safe with their medical recommendations and now feel so safe with legality in Washington and Colorado, right? These are things people in Kentucky know quite well. People in, you know, Wisconsin, people in Ohio are still doing on a daily basis. Protocols. Having to live your life by an established set of rituals and security measures. Just your day-to-day life. Having to make sure we got to make sure there's no smell here. Oh, we got to make sure that we're not seen here. Oh, we got to make sure. Man. And I'm not too far removed from living that life myself in Idaho. So I totally understand how you feel out there. And that's why we're always here fighting for this. This is why I do this 2 hours a day, every day till I lose my voice, trying to get this information out, trying to think maybe this will be the day I think of some cute, clever way to phrase something that becomes the way the next activist uses to shut down the letter to the editor in freaking Vermont or something. I don't know. I hope that's how it works. I hope y'all are using some of these things they say. All right, we're going to take a break here because I got to get something to drink, obviously.
Yeah.
Getting a little
parched,
but I got this sexy music going now. That's right. We're going to take a break. Get close with the one you love.
Roll a fat doobie.
Or if you can't do that, love the one you're with.
Is it 4:45? It might be 4:20.
We'll be right back. Stick around.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Let them bring in the beat.
Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant, high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Let them bring in the beat.
Almost busted in Laredo, but for reasons that I'd rather not disclose.
I smoke pot, and I like it a lot. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer to use than alcohol. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting responsible marijuana smokers in America. And to learn what you can do to help, please contact NORML at www.norml.org or call toll-free at 888-67-NORMAL.
The show was long and we were just sitting there, and we'd come to play and not just for the ride.
Welcome back, everybody. 40 after the hour. That's the Grateful Dead. Going Down the Road Feeling Bad, recorded live August 2nd, 1976. Speaking of live recorded music, Stoney and Snap here brought a stack of CDs. I'm looking at it right now. It's got to be 4 or 5 inches tall, right?
Grab a good one, Snap.
Of all sorts of live recorded... Oh, I got to switch over to Stoney Cam.
Stoney Cam!
Hold on a second. Gonna mess up the background, but who cares, right? There you go. Yeah, so there you go.
Okay.
Big old stack.
I have 2 good ones. Can we see these good ones? Here we go. We have Pink Floyd, June 24th, 1975.
Here we go.
A couple of days after my birthday, a lot of years before. And here we have the Monkees.
The Monkees.
If you guys know the Monkees, let us know what we should be looking out
People
for.
say they monkey around.
They monkey around?
That's what I've heard.
At least a quarter pound, right?
Hendrix in 1970.
Hendrix, July 30th, 1970,
In Hawaii. Smoking the Maui Wowie.
So, I have a feeling that some of this stuff may show up on a new show someday.
Oh, yeah, we're working on it. Just for you guys.
I'm going to give a listen to some of these, and we just might have concert night here at 420 Radio. Maybe Saturday night concerts or something.
Let us know.
Play some of these old stuff.
Late night.
Because, folks, here's another thing. I don't know if you've checked this out, but archive.org has a live music archive, and most of it is Grateful Dead, because they kind of pioneered the whole thing of let your fans tape, you know, set up a separate section for them so they can tape. I think that's awesome. But there's a whole bunch of other live, no copyright, public domain, you can use them, concerts out there. And there's a whole bunch of them there that we're going to play. So.
Beatles from 1964.
Beatles, September 3rd, 1964. Wow. B.B. King from 1986 and 78. I think you got one from 72, don't you? 73, June of 73, B.B. King.
Gillespie, 79.
Dizzy Gillespie from 79. Oh my goodness. We are going to definitely have ourselves some really good stuff
No
here.
doubt.
No doubt.
Get some dabs in there, man. Dab Russ out.
Well, welcome back, everybody. It's Toker Talk Radio, where you are the voice of the Marijuana Nation. Our phone line here is 971-533-7111. And I'm going to go to the archives and find a Toker Talk Radio story that I wanted to go back over. Just an update on yesterday's story about the Colorado Springs mom who they're forcing to give her kid chemo. Okay, he's got leukemia, right? Like Brave Michaela, and has been in remission. She's been using CBD oil from Charlotte's Web strain, and it's been working, or at least the cancer's been in remission for almost a year now, and she just wanted to continue on just CBD oil and no chemo. And the hospital freaked out about that and called Child Services, and Child Services got in touch with her and threatened to take her to court over it, and she doesn't have any money to fight. She's poor. And so she's agreed to just put her kid back on chemo, rather than have to deal with all that.
What? She just needs our support.
Yeah, it's just sad.
Like putting the cop in your car. You get to that point where you stand up for so long, and then you say, "Fuck it, I'll give in." But we can't give in.
That's sick.
We cannot give in, no matter how bad.
Yeah.
Moms for Marijuana.
Well, we're going down there
Colorado,
anyway.
If you can help, we have a case.
Yeah, it's just sad because, you know, she feels forced into it. She's in Colorado, right? So
and she moved to Colorado
from
to
Utah.
escape that, right? So that's
Just a shame.
Fuck prohibition. We're coming, sweetheart. No
Another
other.
thing I wanted to talk about was this Denver doctor, Joseph Montante, who's going to do 30 days in jail and 3 years probation, lost his medical license. So that's his, you know, his job, really, because his evaluation of an undercover officer just wasn't thorough enough. Didn't follow the bona fide doctor-patient relationship.
I say the cop should pay his rec fee just like everyone else and get his recommendation and stop harassing people.
Now, the claim here in the Denver CBS local story is that this is the drug investigators say the supervision is incredibly important because 18 to 21-year-olds can't get recreational pot, but they can get medical. And so the what they're throwing here is that if we don't police these doctors, by God, the kids will get it.
The children.
And I gotta say, how old was this undercover cop? Right now, were you sending in Johnny Depp and 21 Jump Street here, or was it was it freaking, this guy's probably
was that guy. They've been trying to get the undercovers to look like us, Russ. We're catching on, and that's why we have to get ready. They're trying to sneak us into our communities, and it's not right. Damn prohibition. Leave us alone. Stop tricking us. Stop coming in as our friends and our neighbors. It's not right. Stay away. Use that time to plant a seed and cultivate.
Or find a sex offender, like something real.
And it just seems absurd to me when, okay, so here's your medical law in Colorado allows you to have 2 ounces, shop at dispensaries, grow 3 mature plants, 3 immature. Your recreational law in Colorado allows you to have 1 ounce, shop at recreational stores, and grow 3 plants and 3 mature. So really, the difference between these 2 laws is 1 ounce. Right? And so we're going to throw a guy in prison for 30 days and take away his livelihood, his career that he built, the school he went to, the medical, the student loans he probably still owes. We're going to ruin his whole life because of the possibility that someone over the age of 21 might try to cheat to get an extra ounce, and someone under the age of 21 might cheat to be legal. And so this guy's life needs to be ruined. I just don't. It's just amazing that this still exists.
Circles. Like, they just don't know what to do. I'm going to arrest you if you're within the law. I'm going to arrest you without the law.
And that's why we say it's cannibal. This is an example of why we can't believe the woo-woo. This is happening in a medical state.
Cannibal. I like
Cannibal, yes.
I like that. That's
Word
good.
to policy. We have to end prohibition. And this is happening in a medical state with a medical doctor.
Right.
We don't think that any other state there's some bullshit happening. Like, it's happening all across the board. Something has to happen on the underground grassroots level that goes beyond all this.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is this all exists because of the impossible and ridiculous mandate to try to separate who's sick enough for medical.
We're all sick.
We're all sick.
Or we're all healthy, whatever, but we all deserve the right to use cannabis. This is where, when you try to, when you create an absurd law, you end up with absurd results like this. Like, this is just absurd. This man has to go to jail, lose his license, because the cop who came in and complained of ankle pain didn't get a long enough evaluation. This is just insane. The cop if the cop had the ankle pain and the doctor had said, no, you can't have your recommendation, this, example person here could have just gotten recreational marijuana, right? So why are we trying so hard to enforce this ridiculous difference in a state that now has recreational marijuana as well?
Cannibal, man.
It is total.
That's all it is.
Cannibal.
Something they can do to keep us from planting a seed that day. Because if we would just plant a seed that day, eventually none of that would matter. We're going to privately take care of our communities because you guys want to cannibal all day and not get shit done. We're getting shit done. Plant a seed today.
There you go. Plant a seed.
That's it.
So there he is, Dr. Montante, Joe Montante, now can't be a doctor. He claims he was entrapped. He was entrapped. And this is the thing, too, is that they run these stings, these supposed stings on, and they've done this with dispensaries, and they've done it, ever since the beginning of the medical marijuana world. And he, they go undercover. They're given a fake license, a fake driver's license, but it's made with the real, DMV stuff, right? So to anyone who would look at it, it's a real driver's license, right? It's not, there's no way you could possibly tell it was forged. They go in complaining of a real condition, and they come in with a real recommendation, and then they shop at a dispensary, and then they bust the dispensary for selling weed. It's like they were doing exactly what they were supposed to do.
Right.
This is insane.
Insane in the membrane.
Yes, absolutely. And trying to find more news. The CBS Local has the conviction. That's the only story I'm finding on this out of Loveland. And, you know, looking at the guy, he's an older guy. It looks like. The undercover agent lied to get into my office. I never attempted to deceive anyone. They are going to appeal, and I hope that appeal goes well.
We'll have to get him on the phone, Russ.
Yeah, maybe we can talk to that attorney, because this is something I think other states are going to face as well, so we got to talk about it. All right, we're going to take one more break, and when we come back, we'll round things up here for Toker Talk Radio. Thanks for being here, and thanks to everyone who's shopping at the 420 Radio shop. We just sent out the Cumulus today. That went out in the mail, and got a couple more pin orders that we just sent out, so I hope you're getting your pins.
Keep us on the road.
Yes, thank you. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Ever wonder how often to change your bong water? The most effective method for baking pot brownies? The best destinations for a ganja getaway? How to hide herb in your car? Whether to grow your own? How precisely to legalize it? Or how something as wonderful as marijuana ever got to be illegal in the first place? Finally, you can find all these answers and much more in the official High Times Pot Smoker's Handbook, featuring 420 things to do when you're stoned. Since 1974, High Times Magazine has covered marijuana in all its aspects and wonders, from cultivation to legalization to the herb's enduring and exalted place in popular culture. Packed with inside information, the official High Times Pot Smoker's Handbook rolls all of this collected wisdom together into a single indispensable ganja guide, including an entertaining look at marijuana's history, profiles of herb-friendly travel destinations and festivals, favorite potluck recipes from the High Times staff, smoking skills, advocacy and activism, essential marijuana movies and songs, profiles of famous cannabis strains, comprehensive growing information, celebrity endorsements, and much more. This is truly, finally, the ultimate guide to green living.
Fun, 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 fun,
Oh yeah, this is Big Daddy, and I want you to join me every Thursday night at the Funky Roller Rink, baby.
Engine number 9. Can you get me back on time? Move on down the track. Keep that speed coming out the stack. Huh. Keep on moving. Keep on moving.
I'm Sub Cool from Team Green Avenger. At TGAgenetics.com, we are working on the leading edge of medical strains. Our strains are rigorously tested for THC, CBD, THCV, and other critical cannabinoids. Know your grow. Check out our genetic diversity at TGAgenetics.com, the home of Jelly Bean, Jack the Ripper, Vortex, and other award-winning cannabis strains.
Just gonna keep getting started. Marijuana's legalized. I'm just gonna keep getting started. 'Cause it makes everything alright. Marijuana, yeah, my one and only. She keeps me company when I'm feeling lonely. We go together like cheese and bologna. Both made a week, shit, I need to try to clone me. Nature's gift fueled uplifting power.
That, of course, is the Cottonmouth Kings with the simply entitled Marijuana. Digging it?
Oh, man, they were my favorite.
We're hanging out with Stoney and Snap.
And it's Where's the Weed At Wednesday.
It's Where's the Weed At Wednesday? You guys have something for every day, don't you?
You have to keep you going.
We got Match Win Monday,
man.
Trillionaire Tuesday, Where the Weed At Wednesday.
Yeah.
What do we got tomorrow?
You have to wait for tomorrow.
What's tomorrow?
You have to wait for tomorrow. Stay listened in.
Oh, I got it. Oh, it's she's doing the radio tease. I dig that. That's cool. Radio professional. All right. Tease the next segment. You go, girl.
Yeah.
All right. So let me get back to the.
I'm fascinated anytime I find one of these online calculators on the web. So I decided to max it out on the, the Colorado tax issue. What would it cost? Like, the lowest estimate they'll let you pick is $25 a pound. If we can grow weed at $25 a pound, like if that's what it costs, now that's like, we're talking industrial farms, outdoors, acres of weed. So if we can plant it at $25 a pound, if we can harvest at $25 a pound, and we allow the retailers to mark it up 300%, that's as much as it'll let me give it, right? 300% markup. And we keep the excise tax at 15% and the sales tax at 10%, which is what they're voting on. The retail price of an ounce of marijuana, including all taxes, would be $24. Can we deal with $24 an ounce?
That's still a little higher than Left-Wing Larry's $15.
Left-Wing Larry says he wants $15 an ounce. He won't stop until it's $15 an ounce.
But we're there. We're getting close.
Now this thing will let you jack up the sales taxes and the excise taxes. And so I'm doing that. Now I've jacked this up 50% excise tax, 50% sales tax. So insane sales taxes. If we can produce weed at, let's say, $400 a pound, and we keep the retail markup at, say, 200%, we're still talking about marijuana that's $229 an ounce. And that's at $400 a pound to make it. If we can drop that down to $25 a pound to make it, even with 50% taxes, it would be $28 an ounce. So, the question of like how high a tax is too high of a tax, well, there's a lot of ways you could look at it. I think the way they're looking at it is, you said tax it like alcohol, and this is higher than alcohol taxes. And I think that's a question of semantics. I think when you say tax it like alcohol, I think the meaning is tax it as we tax alcohol, in that it has a higher tax than other goods and services. Tax it as alcohol is taxed, as a sin tax. I don't think it literally means tax it in equal amounts to alcohol. And that's what I think these no on AA people are saying. Well, it's not equal amounts. Well, no, it's not equal amounts. The first guys that adopt any legalization are going to pay through the nose just because it's new, just because they want to keep the price high enough so that there's not a immediate, complete collapse of the pot market and super cheap weed is fleeing out of state. They want to make sure that enough tax revenue's coming in to fulfill the promises that were made during the campaign that there would actually be tax revenue to help fix schools and enough to pay regulators to make sure all of that stuff was actually regulated and actually going as it was intended, and that we're following the rules so that when the federal government puts out a memo that says we won't bust you if you're following these rules, that the rules are actually being enforced. There's someone there to make sure they are being enforced. And so that's why all this hubbub, that canna-babble over this tax thing, to me it's just like, look, saying the tax is too high, I always have to say in comparison to what? In comparison to an alcohol tax, perhaps. In comparison to cigarette taxes, not really. And compared to the prohibition tax that most everyone in the nation has to pay, you seem a little silly complaining about the possibility of a $180 ounce. Or 100 and whatever it was ounce that we originally estimated. You seem a little silly complaining about weed that's going to be far cheaper and better than almost anyone on the planet can get. And if you think the tax is too high, you can still grow your own damn weed. Really? You're that concerned about it that you need to make a big public splash giving away joints in public so that more people will smoke in public, which will make the people think that once again all we cared about was getting high. Anyway, that's the way I see it. And I'm sure when I head to Denver later this month, I'll get an earful, but what the hell. Always keeps my life interesting. I'll be in Denver for the Drug Policy Alliance Conference. For Stoney and Snap, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. Coming up next, we've got Free Weed with Danny Danko, and that will be followed by replays of this show. And so until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you